Welcome to the Beautiful Game. As always, I'm Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
Made you guys think twice because I did it backwards last time. But we're back for our second episode of 2024. Still no flying cars. That's bullcrap. But it is the future.
88 miles per hour.
Well, and you know what the future is full of? A lot of interesting, shady folks with money running football organizations. So on that, our big topics are going to be the financial fair play charges filed against Everton. And guess what? The FA throws Nottingham Forest into the mix. But wait, not Man City yet? We'll explain. I put the question mark on that. Not Ferris. Then with only a few Premier League matches this past weekend, we will cover each in our 2-minute drill. And then we're going to blow the halftime whistle as the financial fair play of the flank steak and the point deductor of the pig. Ron, that's the best one yet, shares with us some beer news to get our mind off of the soccer for a bit. Finally, we will close out the pod with the return of the La Liga's roundup. Ooh, on fire this episode. As we talk the special one, Jose Mourinho. I didn't know if he was going to play this. Jose Mourinho. So I was like, wait a minute. And Christian Pulisic.
Can't change banks that quick.
Oh, can't. Oh, that's true. Yeah. And then also going to talk about Christian Pulisic killing it in Italy. Jose Mourinho, Chelsea's manager.
The gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Oh God, please come to the Premier League. Please come to the Premier League. Oh, we'll do a whole pod for you if you do, Jose. And then Jadon Sancho's return to Dortmund, which I believe Ferris actually got to watch at a nice German joint. And Jude Bellingham winning his first. Bellingham's the comic book guy. Bellingham winning his first bit of silverware for Real Madrid. But first, well, it's time for the beer. Gents, we were talking about how crazy the weather's been. Where I was living in Knoxville, they're like under a foot of snow, which is insane. And over here in Connecticut, where I'm at now, we have snow. That's normal. But it iced over, so it's good and crunchy. So I thought I would stick with all the winter beers. I think I mentioned to you guys, I picked clean right when I first got here. I'm going to go with a goodie, oldie brewery that we enjoy, Southern Tier from out of New York.
Good one.
And it is there, appropriately named Old Man Winter.
Awesome.
This beer, click, is their winter offering. It's here to quell your shivers and get you through the coldest of nights. A rich marriage of hops and barley to cast light upon the evening and melt your mind out of the snowdrifts. Old Man Winter's earthy hue and thickness lace around the glass, inviting you to linger in its warmth and share the spirits of the season with your friends and family. A deceptively strong brew. It's best to sit and ponder with this old man sip by sip. Since we were just prior to recording talking about how old we're all getting. Its ABV is 7.5%. I love stuff when the tier does this. Fermentation is ale yeast, 2 varieties of hops and 4 varieties of malt. Color, chestnut brown. I love when they put all the information on there. It makes me happy.
That's awesome.
So I don't think I've had this, and I don't think we've had this on the pod for sure. So I'm excited to try this one.
Well, that's good. Because that sounds good. I wish I had that. But I can't remember if I had this one on the pod before that I'm going to have. Because at one point I had 3 of them going, I'll do it for the pod for all 3 of us. So I have no clue how long this one has been in my fridge because, Blake, you moved away a few years ago. And I can't, but now I'm down to 2. So I don't know if maybe I lost one in like a move or 2, or I drank one on a pod at some point.
Or did you, it's been really funny if it's like in my fridge or somewhere because I brought it with me and we never did it on the pod or something.
I no clue. That could have happened too. So if that's the case, then I only have one more left in the fridge. But anyhow, I'm doing a Foxtail Double Coffee Stout.
Oh, I would remember that since my daughter has an affinity for foxes. That's cool. I don't have that.
So Foxtail is a local coffee shop here in the Orlando area. It's by Hourglass Brewing, which has 2 different locations, one in Longwood and then right there by Ron's house in the Orlando downtown-ish area. But this is brewed in collaboration with the friends at Foxtail Coffee. This double coffee stout boosts a robust body and rich medium roast decadence. Foxtail Farmhouse blend coffee beans infuse each inky drop with enchanting aroma and velvety mouthfeel, resulting in a high-gravity stout with an abundant bouquet of cherry, brown sugar, and dark chocolate. Vibrant coffee roast surges through the brew, joined by notes of roasted bread, dark fruit, and burnt caramel. It won a award back in 2019 at the Brussels Beer Challenge.
Oh, that's cool.
In Belgium. It won bronze. So it's 10.8% on the old ABV and 34 IBU.
How do I get a job writing copy for what a beer is like? Because both your description and the one that I read were both very good.
Beautiful, yep.
Yeah, I want that job. The Shakespeare of beers. Shakespeare. Okay, that's our new podcast.
There you go.
That's our new
Shakespeare
t-shirt. Where someone get that trademark quick.
Shakespeare, right. That's awesome.
Shakespeare.
So I also stuck with the dark beer style. Ferris, you're going to be sad you're missing this.
No, darn it.
Combs Baltic Porter.
Oh, I do like a Baltic Porter.
This is one of the harder beers to find. I got it through the app on the old phone and had it sent. This is a gold medal winner for the European Beer Star in 2013, and it won a silver medal at the World Beer Cup in 2014. Combs Baltic Porter reflects the history of brewing, referring to the 18th century tradition of brewing porters in the Baltic states. At their prime, Baltic porters represented about a third of the market. Because of their popularity, the brewery, which I can't really pronounce, Brouwer Fortuna. Maybe I'm destroying
That's
that
a
name.
Star Wars character, I believe. Vince Fortuna from Jabba's Palace.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. We offer you a well-balanced, dark, strong beer with distinct flavor, slow fermentation at low temperatures in open vats, coupled with a 3-month maturation, have resulted in this beer's character and complete complex nature. I can't wait to try this.
See, I just want to write that stuff.
There's a lot, yeah.
Give me
a lot of
beers
that going on this pod here tonight.
Yeah, man. Give me beers to try and let me write descriptions. I want to do that.
This one's 9% on the old ABV. You're following at home.
You topped us, right? I was 7.5. What were you?
Ferris,
10.8.
yeah,
Oh, never mind. Ferris had us.
yeah. So I'm excited to try this. This has been in the fridge for a bit, waiting for winter.
And it's coming, Florida. You only got 2 days to try that beer.
Right?
Right.
Shall we crack these?
Let's do this. Well, this is a winter ale that is like that dark copper color. I love everything by Southern Tier. I don't think I've ever had anything that I didn't care for.
Ooh, I like the color of that there, Blake.
It smells good and malty. Not a ton of head retention.
Look at this bad boy. Engine oil.
Yeah, I know. That's about like mine too, Ron. Ooh, nanny.
I love we all went with the dark stuff for the winters. All right, gents. Cheers to another
Cheers.
pod.
So much.
Hey, you know what? This one, I know it's not an ABV as high as your guys', but 7.5 you usually can taste, and I don't. This is masked into the malt very well. This is good.
I tell you what, you can taste two things in this. Well, just up front,
Coffee.
I gotta have a coffee and 10.8%.
Right.
But other than that, it is damn good. It's smooth.
I bet it
is a
aged
double
well.
stout. Yeah, it because I probably had this in the fridge for a while. Like I said, I might even have this in the pod before. I don't know, but nonetheless, it's damn good.
It's Foxtail coffee. I think I definitely
Foxtail coffee with from Hourglass Brewing here.
I definitely have a Foxtail coffee mug in our cabinet. The fox head one. Yeah. Oh, how's yours, Ron?
Sorry, I was taking pictures.
I was interrupting your photo session.
I gotta do that.
This, you taste every bit of the 9% ABV, but it is very complex. Very sweet on the mouth feel in the beginning, and then the alcohol kind of takes over and lets it ride from there. Very, very distinct flavor.
My thing about this winter's ale is like it is very thick, and it's but this 7.5 ABV is not super prevalent. It would be really easy to sit by a fire and drink 2 or 3 faster than you oughta.
Oh yeah, this has got a bit of a
faster than you oughta.
This has got a bit of a smoke flavor to it. So this would be great sitting at a campfire, just having a chill on a cold night.
Yeah, it's on like Donkey Kong and a pot of neck bone kind of night.
That old thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when is it?
Well, apparently for a couple of clubs, that is what's happening right now. At least that's what the FA says. So I'm sorry. Before we get to the beer news, we have our new thing. We've got to kick us off. We need Ron's ceremonial quote from the great Ray Hudson to start us off.
So this one I thought was just pretty entertaining because one of Ray's greatest strengths in his commentary is taking 2 completely unrelated things, smashing them together, and make it completely relate.
And it makes sense somehow.
Yeah. So this quote is pretty good. Giving Cristiano Ronaldo that much time and space on the ball is like giving Dracula the keys to the blood bank.
I love it.
Oh my God.
And as I sit here at my desk and still have the, because they were still selling them when I went over there last year, my Cristiano Ronaldo mug from the store. That's awesome.
It makes me happy every time you post that mug. I got you the
oh yeah, man.
manual. That makes me
most
happy.
Saturdays, most Sundays, especially if United are playing. I throw that into the old rotation with the tea.
Hold on to that Ronaldo cup. It's going to be valuable. He might be the only player left in the Saudi League after a while.
Right.
Maybe that'll
not wrong.
Maybe we'll get to that in a little bit. So on Sunday, news broke that Everton and Nottingham Forest were expected to be found in breach of Premier League spending rules. Yes, that Everton, who has already been deducted 10 points earlier this season for similar breaches. So let's go over to our world traveler reporter, Ron, for an overview of why and what this means for both of these clubs. And then what about Manchester City? Ron, I hope you can untie it, because at one moment I understood when these charges were coming from, and then the next it was very confusing about where the timing of these all fall.
That's to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, right now the Premier League is giving Tam, Gam, Jam, and Lamb from MLS a run for its money.
And don't forget about Bam and Sam.
Say Bam, Sam, yes. Did you notice I'm wearing my Sam Gamgee Lord of the Rings shirt?
I do see that.
There you go.
Yeah, because they're going to bring over the ex-Man United keeper David De Gea on the Tam Gam discovery rights.
If someone discovered him,
yes.
Yes.
I want to know who gets paid for discovering him.
God, I hope like it's some just like CF Montreal or somebody discovered him. Like, just somewhere just completely random. Like, no, we discovered David De Gea. Yeah, no.
Enlighten us, Ron.
Okay.
Clear the fog that is the financial fair play rules.
So first we're going to go back just a little bit to...
Gonna go back in time. Sorry, fair start.
Nice. To have a little bit of a perspective or a lens to look at some of this through. The Premier League is not like the NFL here in the US, right? Where you have a commissioner who basically runs the entire league. You have a front office of, 900 or so employees that actually run the league. The Premier League is essentially a member-led organization. So that means the clubs are the people who actually, run the league. So what that means is anytime that new rules of any kind, whether it be financial fair play, profit sustainability, refereeing rules, all that kind of stuff, marketing rules, sponsorship rules, that's all nominated by a specific club or clubs to the Premier League. Then the Premier League opens that up for voting for all the clubs. So there are no rules passed by the Premier League. The rules are all passed and given to the front office of the Premier League to enforce by the member clubs.
This goes back to where recently the whole ball in out situation, we were like, why don't they have the Eagle vision for that, or whatever it's called? And, and it's funny that the clubs are complaining about it because the clubs themselves voted to not have it.
Right, because they said it was too expensive, yada, yada.
But that's how that it works. And it is smart to start off that way because it is so
convoluted.
Well, but it's so different than how leagues work in the U.S. I mean, anybody's used to like franchises and stuff. It's so different.
Right. So Everton was as you've already mentioned, deducted 10 points earlier this season for a profit and sustainability violation of around $17.5 million.
And they're still trying to appeal that, correct?
Correct. That decision is trying to be appealed. And
can I ask? You might have said, what is the time frame that and this first charge is supposed to be covering? So they're appealing.
This goes into a 3-year rolling period, right? So it's the 2021 season, 21 to 22 season, 22 to 23 season. So where Everton has gone afoul is they were essentially playing with the house's money. They were telling the Premier League that they were going to be getting these a shirt sponsor deal and a stadium naming rights deal from 2 different sponsors. But they spent money they didn't have. And then those deals went belly up. So in order to cover, they did some creative accounting.
We call that Hollywood accounting over here in the USOA.
Right. And that essentially means from a player standpoint, they weren't having many problems from a financial fair play and profit and sustainability rules standpoint. It's that they took this money for the stadium and tried to apply it differently than they should have. So when they turned their books over to the Premier League profit sustainability folks went through and flagged it. And so they went to Everton. Everton said, no, we're allowed to do it that way. Premier League said, no, not according to the rules. That went back and forth. Everton decided we're sticking to our guns. We're allowed to do this. Premier League said you can't, so you're in violation. Then it goes to an independent commission.
Mm-hmm.
That independent commission looks at the rules that are in the Premier League is trying to enforce, looks at their case, the Everton's case, applies the two, and then says, no, you're guilty, or no, or yes, you're innocent. And then the independent commission hands down whatever they think is a fair punishment or penalty for your breaches. That's where the 10 points comes from. So the Premier League, a lot of people are saying, the Premier League is after Everton, or big conspiracy theory about why the Premier League is enforcing all of this. But it really comes down to the Premier League is just enforcing the rules that the clubs have voted to put in. And then the independent commission is the one that says, no, you are guilty, or no, you're innocent. And then here's the fine. Does that make sense so far?
Yes. And I have questions, but I feel like they're probably in the path of what you're going to talk about. Because I would wager most people don't necessarily disagree with this. Or, and if you've got this in there, Ron, like much how people are new to soccer and they go, I just don't get offsides. The easiest way to explain offsides is to explain what it prevents. You just have some dude standing next to the corner of the goal, right? That's what you're trying to prevent. So what are they trying to prevent? Do you have a clean answer for that? Like what this rule is for?
Yes. So back when the various leagues in Europe as a whole, not just England, the clubs really could not be trusted and still cannot be trusted to govern themselves appropriately to be
Barcelona. I'm sorry. I coughed.
I mean, look, Barcelona, Juventus, Manchester United,
Roman Abramovich.
Right, like look how many clubs normally operate at a loss. Right. We read those like at least twice a year about who's in debt up to their eyeballs. Clubs would go bankrupt, or a new owner would come in, scorch earth a club, suck out all the money they could from it, and then bail and leave it a wheezing husk on the floor.
Kind of what's happening to Reading at the moment.
So these rules were put in place to help prevent and protect the clubs, not only from themselves, but from predatory ownership.
But it has now had, as all good intentions do, there are unintended consequences.
Kind of what has happening at Reading at the moment.
Yeah. Well, also, it is to prevent the possibility of clubs like what Man City's going through and what Newcastle's going through. Right? Newcastle has a pile of cash just waiting. And so if you remove these sustainability rules, then what's to stop the clubs from just spending as much money as possible, winning all the trophies? Your top, 4 or 5 clubs that have ridiculously bonkers rich owners are going to win everything, and all the little clubs are going to shrivel up and fall off. Right? So your Nottingham Forests wouldn't exist much anymore. Right?
Or like in the case, and two, it's what could we all theorize could happen in Newcastle, where not Newcastle's not a small club, but they haven't been fighting for top place in forever. But then someone could buy them with a ton of money, and all of a sudden they're the Yankees, man. They're the ones that are just knocking it out left and right.
And it's also there to help prevent what is allegedly happening with Man City right now, which we'll go into them a little bit further in a minute. So on the Nottingham Forest side, Nottingham Forest gains promotion, and they hire, or essentially recruit and put under contract, more than 42 players in the past 3 seasons.
Theirs is I think they have a tougher fight ahead of them.
So they have essentially put on their books that they have lost more money over the 3 years than you are typically allowed. The Premier League allows you the loss over a 3-year period of no more than £105 million, right? Well, Nottingham Forest is well above that. They do have a couple of interesting points about the profit and sustainability rules. Have a specific time window of which your books are closed, and then you're supposed to report them over. Well, Nottingham Forest is saying, if I would have sold that player inside the window that you wanted me to sell them, I would have taken like a $30 million hit. When I sold him after it, I actually gained about 28 million. So it's smarter for the club to sell them and get the most money for them instead of taking a massive loss. So instead of taking that massive loss in the sale, they took the loss of the amortization of that player's salary and transfer contract in that window, right? Because so the idea is, Blake, if I hire you to be on my soccer team on a 4-year contract and then your contract's $100 million, it's not $100 million hit right away on my books. My first year, it's 25 million. My second year, it's 25 million. So I can stretch that out across the length of your contract, which is what Chelsea's loophole was about.
Yeah, the 8-year offers in contracts.
Yeah, that's what you see in MLB contracts and those type of things that have these ridiculous 10-year deals and that sort of thing.
So Forest essentially ended up being over. And the key thing here for both clubs is that it's a question of accounting, right? So you're over this much, you're over this much. You're both in violation of the rules. It's clear to see. There's no kind of question about it. This is not an alleged charge. It's right there in black and white. Both clubs have essentially agreed and said, "Yep, okay, we're in violation." But here's why we're in violation. Now, as Nottingham Forest kind of has a point that the profits and sustainability rules should be looking out for the club's financial interest, i.e., they should have been able to sell that player at a better profit and had it not be held against them. Everton feels hard done by because they are essentially getting double jeopardy. Because the reporting of that money from the stadium, the 19 million pounds, is in this. Both these charges are in the same 3-year span. So they got hammered a 10-point deduction for one, and they're looking to get hit on another rules violation for the second. So, yes, Everton is guilty, and there is no double jeopardy clause in the Premier League's rules for when you get hit by this. So the interesting thing is that there's going to have to be some rule changes. But what those rule changes are going to be and how massive they're going to be is really a large question, right? I don't think it's fair that Everton gets hammered twice for the same violation, right? They got a 10-point deduction. If that's not overturned and they get another points deduction for this season, they could be relegated.
But they both are. That's the problem. In a nutshell, this is the problem, is that, yeah, you don't want an owner to come in and pillage and ravage the situation, like you said. The other was to not have a club do what Man City is allegedly in violation of right now. So the problem in a nutshell is that you did this so that a club can't be ravaged and pillaged by a greedy owner that comes in and, like you said, leaves it a husk. The other is that you can bowl other clubs doing what Man City has allegedly done. The problem is the Premier League is about to leave 2 clubs a husk because the rules they've enacted to protect will likely cause 2 clubs that could fight to stay in reasonably. They even with the point deduction that Everton currently has, Nottingham and Everton could still fight to stay in the Premier League. So they're punishing these clubs. And the biggest problem is that there's 115 allegations against or charges against Man City, and no one really cares that, well, that's a lot. It'll take longer if you go attack these clubs at the bottom of the table first. If you attack these clubs at the bottom of the table first without hitting Man City, it looks bad, as you might actually have this talk about where they were talking to the dude who runs Premier League Masters, whatever, what he said about that. But
so there's a bit to unpack there. One is that the Premier League isn't doing anything to anyone. The clubs, including Everton, who voted to put these profit and sustainability rules in place, are the ones who came up with the rules, the ones who voted in the rules, and the ones who want to see the rules held up. So the Premier League isn't doing anything. All they're doing is saying, you're in violation of your rules. Then the independent commission gets in and does their thing. So the club, Everton has no one to blame but themselves. Nottingham Forest has no one to blame but themselves. They did this. They're being held accountable. So it's not like the common thing that I've been hearing is very similar to what you said, Blake, which is the Premier League is going to screw these 2 clubs. Nope. Those 2 clubs screwed those 2 clubs by the rules. Now, you could argue that Nottingham Forest didn't have a seat at the table at the time.
Yeah.
But the clubs that were in the Premier League to vote on this are the people who put this
But
in.
now, how did they vote? Did Everton vote for it? Was it unanimous?
I think there's 1 or 2 representatives from each club.
So there are representatives from each club. There's I
think one of the Glazers is a representative for United.
It's usually an owner.
Voted?
It's usually there's a public record, and it is a majority. 14 clubs have to vote in favor of something for it to be
like
enacted.
a supermajority, not just 11, but 14.
So this isn't something that was just kind of thrown in. So now you kind of have a good segue there when you're talking about Man City. These charges for Everton and for Nottingham Forest are clever accounting problems, right? There's no way around it. We look at your books that you gave us. You're over. Here's a fine. Those are relatively quick and relatively easy charges to file and remediate. Now you look at, everyone says, well, what's happening with Man City? First, I don't think it's wise for anyone to compare what's happening for Man City to what is happening at the Everton and Forest. And here's why.
115 reasons why?
Yeah, 115 reasons why. As I said, it's one of clever accounting for those 2 clubs. However, Man City has 115 violations, alleged violations over 9 seasons.
Essentially all of what's the owner of them's name? Farhad Mashiri's reign.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2008, 2009, all the way up until to recent time, really going to 2018, I think. But yeah.
So the interesting thing here is that it's not really a question of accounting. It is a question of the Premier League is saying Man City is lying about all of this information that they have given. Also, Man City vehemently denies all 115 charges categorically. So from a time standpoint, if you are going to try and prove that the club is lying, you have a lot of homework to do. But then you have to ask yourself, who actually are you accusing in the club of lying? Right? Is it your GMs and other front office staff? Then the owners? Well, which version of the owners? And how far into the Saudi state are you going?
Well, and let me correct. Farhat Moshiri is the Everton owner. This is Sheikh Mansour for Man City that we're really talking about here since his ownership began in 2009.
So Everton and Nottingham Forest are charges of clever accounting, and they agree with the charges. Maybe they don't agree on the rules, but that's a different story. Manchester City is allegedly out and out lying about these charges and why they're guilty, but they're also vehemently denying that they had any issues in the first place. They think they're good.
Oh, sorry. Isn't this part of what Everton's argument is? Like, are you kidding me? A 10 points? Like, we came forward and said, all right, guys, here it is. Where, like, part of what they did was saying, here's what we did. Here's why we did it. We think it still was smart the way we did it, but it's against the rules. Here you go. We're not trying to hide it.
Right.
10 points. Oh God, we are going to get relegated.
And that 10 points is the highest in, I think, the top flight.
That's the
history.
Thing. Like, if it had been like a 5-point deduction, I think you grumble. But is that the problem? Is the punishment? I mean, to your point, Ron. I mean, it is as open and shut in the sense of like, here are the rules, you didn't do the rules. But like, is that part of the problem? Because if that's the punishment, and Man City, they walk away with charging them with two things and fine them $10 million. It's an uproar. Yeah. Like,
so
sorry,
I think
for the bleep sheet, 38 minutes in.
First one and a pot and a half.
Blake, somebody write that down. I don't actually have the bleep sheet on me.
38, 36.
Yep.
I'll text you.
So I'm going to come back to that question, right? Because there's a few other things I want to weave into there before we get there. What the Premier League has on its hands now, in my opinion, is an optics and communications problem. There has been nothing said from the Premier League officially about what is actually going on with the Man City case, other than they allegedly set a date, but they're not going to tell you when it is.
And doesn't that feel like them feeling like they're forced to say something because people are freaking out right now? Like, whoa. You're about to double hit Everton, and you're hitting two clubs again, regardless of whether, yes, it's against the rules, whatever. But it's like you're hurting people that, like.
Well, and here's the other thing: the Premier League actually opened the investigation into Man City back in December of 2018, after a German outlet, Der Spiegel, published hacked emails that appear to suggest that. So it's not like, oh my God, they're doing it in the past few seasons and after the pandemic. No, we're going on year 6 of them investigating 115 charges. And yet a charge or two can be doled out punishment, go through the whole process, and then go back for seconds. Like that's where I think it
can I put my tinfoil? I can put my tinfoil hat on for you.
Perception there. Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Here's tinfoil hat. What if, and who knows, because it's this independent organization stuff, unless Ron has the magic answer to this, but like, who's the shadowy whoever behind the scenes that's like, we're actually gonna end up deducting 10 from Nottingham and another 10 from Everton. They're going to get relegated because we have everything we need on Man City, and it's going to be bad. And if we don't punish everybody, we can't punish them.
So I'm kind of headed that direction.
I like this tinfoil hat stuff.
The Premier League, if you kind of...
This pod was built on tinfoil.
tinfoil
transfers. We stick with tinfoil. Pod favorite.
Or as they would say in the UK, aluminium foil.
Aluminium foil, thank you.
That's too posh for us. Yeah, that's way too posh for us.
So if you peel back in the headlines a bit for the Premier League and the EFL, you would have some recollection that the government of the UK has been investigating whether or not football can regulate itself. And the commission that was convened by the government came back and said, no, they cannot govern this themselves.
Is that like the most? I feel like that would have been a Simpsons episode where you're like, I'll go investigate this. And you'd walk out of the room and then walk back and go, nope, they can't. They cannot govern themselves. Right. What are we taking? Look at who owns these. No, you can't do it, man. Right. Like greed is going to kick over at some point. Like, you can't. So then enters such hard investigations on various teams and various clubs and different personnel in those front offices, in my opinion, as a show to the government that they don't need an independent regulator, they can govern themselves. So there's a lot wrapped up in why Everton got a 10-point deduction, why they're looking at some sort of other penalty likely to be convened after the first appeal of the 10-point deduction, right? So you have...
It probably wouldn't be until next season.
The Premier League hopes, this is a big hope, that this will all be... Everton's charges will have been appealed and decided by the end of this season, and therefore, before the beginning of next season, the charges for this, the penalty for the second set of charges will come out. So then they know if they're getting relegated or not.
They also Which is bonkers that you could be lining up your next season not knowing who's in the league.
Correct.
Yeah, and they also hope to have nailed Man City back in 2018, and VAR hopes that they'll get the call right every time.
So another interesting thing about the precedent of a points deduction is that if you simply fine these clubs for their profit and sustainability violations, it becomes white noise. It becomes the cost of doing business, especially to clubs like Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United, Man City, Chelsea. These, well, maybe not Chelsea so much anymore. Who knows?
No, Bailey's got all the money. He's throwing that all around, all over the place, man. He dropped a $20 million fine and not even blink, man. But that's one 6-month contract for somebody right now.
The amortization of a 6-month deal. So the Premier League is coming out with a big bat for all of these. Well, I'm guilty of my own optics here. The independent commission has come out and with a big bat to ensure that the lesson everyone learns is that you're not just going to get a $10 million fine or $100 million fine. We're going to give you points deduction, and that because that's the way to, according to them, that's the way to teach the lesson. If you're going to fine an owner like the Glazers or Roman Abramovich, $100 million, they're going to go, okay, whatever, pay it. And then no one's going to care. And then you may as well not have profits and sustainability rules. So they're coming out with points deductions because that's where it really hurts. You could miss Champions League. You can get out of Europe. You could be relegated, what have you. So they're coming out with a big bat specifically for that. So where we go now kind of forward is that there are a lot of teams that have to be super careful about what they're spending and when in the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 transfer season windows.
I don't know if you pay attention, but I find the transfer talk on Twitter is interesting now because it's changed. Whereas it used to be just a bunch of fans lamenting, Arsenal, just pay the money for this dude. Chelsea, just get this dude, whoever get. And now that people aren't saying that because people are like, well, with FFP, you got to make sure. Like it has changed the conversation amongst the fans a bit.
Right.
That used to just say those crazy things about whatever it takes, hire whatever, get him in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh yeah, that's not which also in America with salary caps is like a thing that we're kind of used to.
Sure.
But
so if you notice, this January transfer window is quiet.
Yeah, it's really quiet.
So
a lot of loans are going to happen.
Yeah.
Because that kind of skirts around some of these things, and United were kind of lambasted for signing Weghorst on loan last January. That's because that was kind of our only option in terms of what we could do with these financial fair play rules.
Right.
You look at what Tottenham just did. Not so much of them; they probably could have signed Werner for that. But you look at why Arsenal can't probably sign $100 million, $120 million striker in January is because
even Raya, he's alone.
Right.
Raya's alone for that very reason. Yeah.
Right. So it's been really quiet, and I think you'll see a flurry of loans toward the end of the transfer window, which closes, I think, February 2. And then I think you'll see an uptick in the summer, especially when the Saudi League kind of opens up their purse strings. You're going to see a lot of things going back and forth. That's a whole different pod with how the Saudi League is affecting soccer overall.
Well, they're all coming back, so I don't know.
Yeah. and the winter transfer closes February 1st.
Oh, sorry, 1st.
Yep, closes on February 1st at 6
I think
p.m. Standard Time.
You'll see some moves, but I think it'll be loans. I agree with you, Ferris. Maybe a big signing somewhere. I don't know, but
a lot of loans. And usually January, it's not the January we've had in the past where you've had some really big signings in January. Like think of your Virgil van Dijks, your Nemanja. You've had some pretty big signings in January. You haven't really seen that in years past, or in the past several years since financial fair play has become such a hot topic, I should say.
So tons of clubs have to be careful in these transfer windows. Chelsea has to continue to have really good sales. Chelsea is not under the microscope for financial fair play. Their profit and sustainability has been good for that 3-year rolling cycle. They, however, are under investigation for alleged tax and sponsorship problems under the Roman Abramovich times. However,
essentially the Al Capone.
I was going to say right now, Chelsea's been like, but he's not here anymore. He's not here anymore. He's not here anymore. And like,
it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Like that has been, and unfortunate, but I mean, this goes back to when we were talking about Newcastle being purchased by basically a state, and it's like. And this is, I think, to the British government's point of, can these clubs manage themselves? And the answer is no, because something, we have left out is that, yes, if Nottingham gets relegated because of this, they lose a ton of money. But it's not just the club. It's the town. the businesses that support the town, for the traveling. Like, there are so many layers to this. And that's where, because you may go, well, why does the British government care? But that's why they care. It is not just affecting these big owners or whatever else. It is entire communities that have businesses built up around these traditions and everything.
I mean, hell, look at the show that's on FX.
Oh, or
right?
Wrexham.
Welcome
Yeah.
Look at what that town has. What Ryan and Rob have done to propel that town up by just some investment in there, making right decisions and ingraining themselves in the community. It's lifted that whole area. Where, in fairness to here in Orlando, if Orlando City wasn't here tomorrow, we would, we three and many others would be devastated, but the economy wouldn't crash.
No,
that's not our main. The economy wouldn't crash. The whole city wouldn't crumble. That's not our main. Sports in this town aren't even quite that way, even with the Orlando Magic. Now, if Disney closed, or if Disney didn't do well, or that would be huge, right?
I think that's a better analogy. I think that, to say, imagine if Disney just left Florida, right?
Right.
I think that is a much better analogy. You have so many businesses and stuff that filter out of the fact. I mean, people that run scooter rental things because, do you know what I mean? Like
timeshares, ticket things. There's so much.
Helicopter tours,
taxis, buses,
you name it. Yeah,
cruise lines, all that.
And so you put all that in, and I think that's why the British government cares, is because they feel like they have a responsibility in the sense that it is, these decisions don't willy-nilly just affect the guys that you see on TV and the owners in the box. Like that's not who it affects.
And it's a national, it's kind of a national sports treasure.
Well, think about it. God, where does this line up in their exports right now? Value of export, right?
The amount
contracts are huge.
The amount of history that comes out of this part of the world for this sport is massive. So they want to protect the legacy of all of this, as well as, protect the town, protect the leagues, protect all that. It's massive. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this unfolds, along with the looming specter of having independent regulatory commissions that are going to be, quote unquote, running football soon.
Well, and like you said, it's the perception that MP that talked to the guy who is Masters, his name, the head of the, who was like the MP talking to him saying, "Don't you understand though that there's a perception problem that, like, if you've got the money to have lawyers, whether this is true or not, you can stretch this out. But if you don't, and you're already technically in violation of financial fair play because maybe you're in trouble, and this just gets piled on you. Like, this feels very not thought out by the clubs that even voted on it. Like, if you were ranked, if you in the last 8 years have been falling in the bottom 10, I don't know why you actually. Maybe you voted for this because you were convinced it was the way to protect from the big dogs, but didn't understand the ramifications for this. And I apologize. I don't mean smaller clubs, but just smaller financial pockets, right? It's not. Everton's not a small club. Nottingham's got a huge history. Like, I mean, yes, there are huge things like Liverpool and Man United that are legendary and large, but like, these aren't small clubs, but they do not have the purse strings that these other clubs have.
Right.
And so, and again, I know it's an independent council. I don't know what their answer is, but like, I feel like the only way there's not a bad taste in the mouth, it'll take a year or two probably, is that something comes out with Man City and it's harsh. Can you imagine if Everton and Nottingham get relegated and then 2 years from now, Man City is absolved? Even if the absolving is correct, right? Like, even if it's correct, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, the battle for perception it's gone. It's toast.
Yeah, that's why I think the Premier League really needs to come out and start at least getting it to a point, communicating to a point where at least people understand. They may not like it. They may not necessarily agree with how it's happening or what the results are, but at least they know where you're coming from. Right now, you have a big vacuum, and because you have a big vacuum, people are going to fill in the information that they don't have on their own, right? And football is a very emotional sport, and it's not an emotionally logical sport, right? Look how many times if a referee in games over the season calls more against a team than another one, it's a giant conspiracy about this ref doesn't like this, right? So conspiracy theories abound about how the Premier League is out to get Everton. Premier League's not out to get Everton. Everton screwed up and they're being held accountable. But you throw in the horrible optics and terrible communication by the league for not coming out and at least saying the stuff with Man City is progressing. We have dates. We have attorneys talking to other attorneys. We have independent counsel. We have this, we have that going on, and there'll be something coming up in the future. That's better than nothing. So people are filling in the communication vacuum with conspiracy theories, which then fuels more emotional instability. And then suddenly the league is trying to crucify these smaller teams. So it's going to be pretty interesting. We got a long way to go.
Ron, do you have the applause button on your bank loaded up?
Yes.
Hit it.
Give yourself a pat on the back too. With the, the old school. Give yourself a little pat on the back with that.
I mean, Ferris, this made me feel like I got to step up. That was amazing. Right? That was an amazing segment, Ron. Good Lord.
Not only
I was just down the street from ESPN, dude. You make a drop off your application.
Yeah.
I met a guy who was down
not only a world traveler and meat connoisseur, but a financier in his spare time.
Yeah. I feel like I know more, and I'm still more confused and angry about it. Like, I can't believe no one sat there and could say to any club, hey, by the way, did you guys think about how this could bone you, like, whoever's in that bottom half that voted for, that's just, I don't know. That's wild.
Well, I think it really comes down to unintended consequences, right?
Yeah.
The idea behind it was you are going to level the playing field between David and Goliath. Right. That was the whole thing. And then make sure that there's no predatory ownership.
Plus, man, it's the harsh penalties too that they already hit. 10 was gobsmackingly huge. And I think that.
Yeah, that's the most. It's been 2, 4, 3, 9, and 10's been the most.
If Man City is guilty of, let's say, even half of the 115 charges that is leveled against them, using the fact, the overall climate in football, Man City is going to get smacked.
They'd have to, right?
And there could be some things that we don't, stripping of things that have happened here in the States with especially college ball, right? The death penalty and stripping of titles, Heisman, that sort of thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but with the amount of charges on the board and what we've seen so far, it is certainly not out of the realm of possibility. And before we end the segment, real quick shout out to the Athletic. While Ron was going through all those stats and stuff, they have so many good articles on all of this. And then actually, if you go over to premierleague.com and go to the About, you can find a lot of the governance of how the Premier League is running, kind of that breakdown that Ron was talking about on there. So a lot of this info is freely kind of shared throughout the online.
Yeah, you just gotta
.coms.
I was just a sponge for everything I could find, and I think if you follow the Athletic, go to their podcast and look up an episode that's called More FFP Charges, but what about Man City? It's about an hour podcast, and they put it very well how all this is intertwined and what the differences are between, the Nottingham Forest problems, the Everton problems, Man City, Chelsea, what this does to football on a greater scale. That's a really good podcast to go. Just give it an hour and you'll come out like, oh, I get it.
My favorite, funny thing to me has been, Chelsea being like, hey, man, we're selling a bunch of players. We're fine. We didn't mess up FFP. And then the fans are like, cool. But have what you've done actually made sense yet? Because that's what we're not so sure of.
Well, that's two different arguments.
Exactly.
Well, and essentially all they've done is just like, hey, you know what? Let's try the Man United after Sir Alex left type thing, and let's just see how much we can jack everything up. And then,
so there you have it. Clear as mud.
Ooh.
Pay attention in the coming weeks because I'm sure it's going to get spicy.
Oh God, yeah, it is. And then I'm sure it's going to drag on for a while with Man City. Boom. All right, so let's just recap real quick the Premier League matches that happened. We'll do our quick 2-minute drill. We'll make it a minute drill if we need to catch up on time. Way back Friday night, there was bottom of the table clash. Burnley as they hosted Luton Town in what played out as a 1-1 draw. But it should have been, hey, we can't get an episode without some more VAR, can we? This time, not affecting the top of the league, but the pivotal bottom of the league who is struggling to stay up. The goal had stood due to a potential foul on Burnley goalkeeper James Trafford. VAR again. No, it was a foul.
I think I texted the group that we're in, and I said, at first glance, I was like, oh, get up. Like, he's making a meal of it. No, it's not a foul. But then isn't this why VAR's here? When I looked at it a second time, I went, oh, that's a foul. The attacker knew what he was doing. The players didn't even really celebrate the goal. That should have been a foul. So isn't that what VAR is supposed to do? Is upon second look go, oh, well, actually, it was missed. I don't blame the ref necessarily in that scenario, but once again, we blame VAR for not catching that with replay, camera angle, 15 people discussing it, and we still come out to what? And Vincent Kompany said that much in his post game.
He said it was a joke, is what he said.
Yeah, he had some strong words, but some good points in a calm Belgian demeanor.
I don't know. I don't even know if VAR is even allowed to look at that. Because I don't understand the rules for VAR anymore. It's like trying to decipher handball.
Ron can decipher FFP, but he cannot touch VAR.
I mean, I was glad the goal stood because right at the last minute, I switched in Colton Orris in our draft league, Blake. I was like, oh, I got a goal out of that. I'll take it. But for Burnley, not very happy, and two teams at the bottom of the table. That could have been 3 massive points for Burnley.
Cole Palmer, cool as the seeds on the inside of the cucumber, nets another as Chelsea beat Fulham 1-0 at the Bridge. Is Palmer the best striker that isn't a striker on the team? I mean,
100% yes.
That's an easy one.
Yeah. Accurate.
I mean,
and he'll be paid till like 2032 too, but that's okay.
He's the leading goal scorer, and only a couple of them were penalties. Chelsea's got we still got a long way to go.
Well, a lot of injuries still, but then again, you have a lot of people out on loan.
And Kunku's hurt again. This time it's a hip problem.
And they just loaned out Fofana. Where's he going? To Syria? To Spain? Somewhere. But now you did beat a Fulham team that just beat Arsenal, that have been on a good run, that beat a team 5-0. So, but it's one of those, you're seeing kind of what Ten Hag did last year. You're seeing Pochettino win big games and compete really well at home. But what are they doing away?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not even that consistent, right?
Well,
like name I can name on one hand the number of matches that we competed for a solid 90 minutes. Out of Pochettino's total reign, how many
Arsenal and Man City?
What match week are we in?
Technically 21, I think.
21. So 4 out of 21 matches have been a all-out 90-minute go for it. And it was not against Arsenal because we were good in the first half, sucked in the second half. We have not put together many good 90-minute performances.
Just wait till Jose comes back, dude. For the third
time. God, please.
For the third time.
Only
the hat trick of
right?
Chelsea comeback.
Only if he's followed by Gus Hiddink.
Oh.
The teddy bear of a
duo, a tandem,
right?
Coach.
Can we get Van Gaal back at Man United, please?
Oh, please. Kevin De Bruyne and his flowing, voluptuous blonde locks of golden hair are back, as within 5 minutes of being subbed on in the 69th minute. Heck yeah. He scores a banger, and then in the 91st minute, he assists some lad by the name of Bob as Man City complete the 1-goal comeback. Is Klopp right when he said, should the whole country start to shake now that De Bruyne is back?
That's exactly what we said in our previous pod, right? About Man City.
I think so. You alluded to it earlier, but Tony and I were at a buddy of mine's German deli place he opened up. It's I'm going to butcher this. Schweine's. There's a German word in there that I apologize for. But anyways, it's in downtown Winter Garden. Awesome place. Some good German beer variable. And they were. He was showing this game. Me and him play on a Sunday league team. He's our goalie. I've scored many of own goal against him. But he was showing this game, and we were sitting there and we're watching. Just going, make Kevin De Bruyne. One, his hair looks fantastic. Like, that is good for you. Well done, lad. Like, that's you Pantene per OV or whatever you've done. You've done those hairs good.
Herbal essence. But he's
hubs on 5 minutes, scores a banger, nutmegs a defender in doing that. And then plays a beautiful ball over for this young lad named Bob, who great first touch and a lovely, that's a goal you would score in the game, right? Like in an EA game or a FIFA game. So I think, if he stays fit the rest of the season, that's problems. However, Ederson got hurt in this game on a play where the flag probably should have gone up, but they're directed not to put the flag up, and that could be an issue for them down the road.
Would we call Kevin De Bruyne the pasty man's Olivier Giroud?
No.
That's excellent hair on both.
It's only good hair, though. I mean,
Giroud.
Yeah, but Giroud's got...
Strudel Drew? Is that what you just said?
Strudel Drew.
The Strudel Giroud.
That's brilliant.
Kevin De Bruyne from Belgium, the Strudel Giroud.
We have to end it there.
Oh, my God. That killed me. Is it my turn? It is. The aforementioned Everton hosted the former number 2 team in the nation, Aston Villa, as they played out a 0-0 draw on the day when more breaches of spending were announced. Could Everton survive a 2-point deduction, and can Villa end second of the season? Or second by the end of the season?
I think we already answered that in our last talk. Yeah. If Everton are deducted this season, there's no way they survive. Next season, possibly if Sean Dyche is there, because what a job he's doing with this and how, I mean, they're not even in a relegation zone right now, because of what he's done, and they should be all up, I think, to like 11th or 12th.
No, but they're 17 right now.
They are, but with the 10 points, if they would have had it, that's where they would have been. Yeah.
I'm misunderstood. Yeah.
And Villa, 5 or 6 for me. I don't think they end in the top 4. So no, I don't think they end second at the end of the season.
I think Ron and I picked them for 4, right? Top 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could do it. We know who Matt's favorite is now. It's not Ferris. All right.
It hasn't been for a long time. And finally, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe in attendance for the first time since his purchase of Man United was made, his Red Devils could only see out a 2-2 draw with Tottenham Hotspur as Sir Jim sat alongside Sir Alex for his first match. Well, was Jim impressed with what he saw? In the first half an hour, yeah, sure. But after that, same old United.
Again, another team that is having trouble putting together 90-minute performances.
That's absolutely.
Do you think, I know this is part of your La Liga, but do you think Sancho being an impact at Borussia immediately makes United look bad at all?
No, I don't. Nor do I think that was a huge distraction there towards the end. It was at first. We could have a whole separate pod about that and player management and the players in the game nowadays and so on and so forth. It's good to see some people back for United, but we can't, as Ron just said, we can't put a 90-minute performance together. Some lovely goals in this from them. Rashford has a goal and assist. Højlund gets on the score sheet for his second game going in the Premier League, back when our forwards couldn't even score a goal, right? Some good things, but then give up a goal 50 seconds after the half. But there's no Son for them, no Sar for them. No, you have a lot that, yeah, you were counterattacking. You did some good moments there, but is Christian Eriksen, is he up for a midfield full 90 game? I mean, his legs are about as old as mine. Like, they're not going to work as well right now. Brilliant player, can play a hell of a ball, but so there's just a lot of things. And I think some of the loans and some of the things that they've done really early on here since the ownership has kind of been announced, still not going to be solid until probably mid-February. They're starting to see what they have, trim the fat, assess the club. That's kind of what they're doing right now, not only on the field, but back of house, and see what they do. So me and Jim are going to sit down because I'm, a 7 shareholder. He's a 27% shareholder, but small details. But him and I are going to sit down and we're going to discuss the state of the club here soon. Yeah.
I actually think it's the Spurs that look worse coming out of this because they probably should have beaten the Man United team.
Right. Ron, I like Timo Werner in this. I think he's a good ad for Tottenham.
Yeah. He was really good at dragging all of his shots wide, and he was really good at calling for the ball in offside positions. But I'll tell you, man, he is quick.
He has one more assist than 80-pound winger Anthony does this season. So, hey, listen, he's already worth the loan deal and the possible $46 million option to buy for Tottenham.
That's
does it put him on level with Mudryk at this point? I don't know.
Close.
Hey, we need a whistle for 2/3 time, not half time.
right.
We're in NBA terms, so we just ended the third quarter here.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll make the beer news quick. Gentlemen, Bud Light cannot catch a break.
No. Oh, man.
So not only do they have massive marketing problems, redneck celebrities are shooting cases of their beer. People are boycotting the beer. The Teamsters that work at the brewery, 5,000 workers at 12 breweries prepare to strike after a 99% vote in favor of striking in February.
99%.
That's very high.
That's close to 100%. Yeah, no, that's very close to 100%.
Yep. Workers who make Bud Light and other top-selling beers for the Anheuser-Busch portfolio.
Where's the story on the 1% of Teamsters that didn't vote?
Right, yeah, right. They were asleep or who knows.
They forgot to phone into Zoom that day.
Yeah. They The Teamsters Union went on to Twitter, X, whatever it's called, and said, there won't be any beer come March, end quote. 5,000 workers represented by the Teamsters at 12 Anheuser-Busch breweries in the U.S. are threatening to strike after the 99% vote in favor of strike authorization last month. Their current union contract is expected to expire on February 29th. Without a contract by February 29th, there won't be a beer come March. It's a very interesting tale because breweries in Baldwinsville, New York, Cartersville, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, Fairfield, California, Fort Collins, Colorado, Houston, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida, Los Angeles, California, Merrimack, New Hampshire, Newark, New Jersey, St. Louis, Missouri, and Williamsburg, Virginia will all go silent if there's no new contract.
So at the same time, we won't have Bud Light. We won't have MLS games because MLS can't get a deal with the pro refs done. So no refs and no Bud Light. What the is this world coming to?
Note that one.
Yeah, thank you.
It's insane. So, it's quite interesting.
And I'm sorry, when did you say the deal had to be done by? Like, I know it was in March, but was there an exact date?
It would be March number uno.
Oh, so the 1st of March.
Yep.
But they get an extra day with leap year.
Right. Hence the February 29th contract.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, the idea of the strike comes from pay without inflation, increases of cost of living, conditions at the plants. If you have ever brewed beer, you would know that breweries where they're actually brewing the beer get very hot, and allegedly they're not being taken care of in those kind of creature comforts areas in a lot of Anheuser-Busch, or at least the 12 Anheuser-Busch brewing locations I've already mentioned. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out for Anheuser-Busch, AB InBev.
Completely not of any note, but while you're sitting there naming through all of the cities around the U.S. that an Anheuser-Busch brewery is located, my grandfather, for the cottage that he used to own, that's now in the family, would drive to Columbus to the Anheuser-Busch brewery and get a keg of not Michelob Light, which is the popular one, but just plain old Michelob back in the day with those bottles.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had plain Michelob.
Oh man, I haven't either, but I would die for one right now if they made it. But he would drive there, get a keg filled for his homemade kegerator that he had in his fridge. They only live about an hour or so out from there. So interesting. I completely forgot they had a brewery until you said. You forget that, yes, you see it in every bar, everywhere, every store, every convenience store, you name it. You can find a Budweiser, Bud Light, some sort of Bud product. But how many breweries they have spread across the entire 50 states is wild.
And what's interesting is that so the Teamsters Union only represents these 12.
Oh, and there's probably
there's other unions
offshoots,
that have them in different countries, and it's incredible.
They'll be watching.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, AB InBev makes basically a quarter of all of the beer consumed globally.
Wait, hold up. Don't they own Pacifico now?
Yes.
Oh Lord, they better come do a deal real quick.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize that.
I'm pretty sure they own Pacifico now.
Yep. So
interesting.
That's the short version of beer news, and we'll move on to the rest of the pod since we're at an hour 20 and counting.
Yep.
Hey, the people love it. This was a quality this here was quality content, Clark.
That's a good quality item there.
Yeah.
Warning. It's full. The league is roundup. All right. Well, what do you know? I just pulled my headphones out of my mic. Sorry. All right. Well, what do you know? Last month, American captain and superstar Christian Pulisic won Italian Serie A Player of the Month with 2 goals and 2 assists in 5 league. Well done.
We had
A little applause.
Thank you. Captain America over there in Italy. 2 goals, 2 assists, and 5 league appearances while also having a goal in the Champions League against Newcastle United. But you know what? That's not all the news out of Serie A. Because guess what? Earlier this month, and just within the past week, I think I'm the special one.
You got it.
I think I'm a special one.
Was the sacked one, as Jose Mourinho was sacked as manager of AS Roma. Mourinho was 68, 31, and 39 in all matches in charge of Roma, and even brought home the illustrious first ever UEFA Europa Conference League championship, and then went out and got himself a tattoo.
Got a tattoo with it, baby.
You know, and in fairness, you know, you can laugh at, you know, the various sound bits and antics that we've seen from Jose, but apparently this was a 45-minute plus convo. There was a video online that surfaced of him leaving in a car and a fan giving him something to sign, a shirt or something like that. And you saw how much it means to him to coach and to be in charge of these clubs. We can laugh, we can do these things, but what it means to these folks, this is their job. This is their, you know, it's not just a job to them. You saw how much it meant to him to be in charge of this club. He's been in charge of Inter before. He's been in charge of some big name teams. Serie A is an interesting league this year. If you're not catching any of it, turn into, I think Paramount Plus is where you can find all the games now. But Juve are on the up and up. We have a lot of good, like Tim Weah is playing for Juve. It's turned into the American league almost, with everybody that's playing in there. What used to be all of the Americans playing in Germany are now playing over in Italy, and for these big storied clubs in Milans and Juventuses and Inters. And so a lot going on over there, but an interesting 2 months in the Serie A.
Can I read you something hilarious from The Athletic about the Jose Mourinho thing?
Why not?
Okay, so Nick Miller from The Athletic wrote a really interesting piece that basically revolves around Mourinho sacked, but the short-term chase for success is still worth hiring him. So they're basically saying, how much thought does an owner give when he hits the panic button to hire Jose Mourinho, right? Is the long-term or is the short-term success worth the long-term heartache, right? And emotional battering you're going to take. So Nick Miller writes, and I quote, "The third season syndrome strikes again. His eventual toxicity, where everything gets burned down after a couple of positive years, is so well established now that it's essentially a guarantee." End quote. It's a perfect encapsulation of what happens when Jose's in charge of your club, right? You have some amazing positives. You win some trophies. He's a hero. And then almost overnight, he turns into the zero. Loses the locker room. You got to get rid of him. I mean, how many clubs has he done that to in recent history? Right? Manchester United, Tottenham.
Year 3, yeah.
Chelsea.
Well, he didn't even get a full year in Tottenham.
Everything is by year 3, it's over.
His quote for Tottenham is my favorite. In the "You fire me, sack me before I go to a final with a club that's got no trophies in their closet," which
it's kind of funny.
You know, I mean, like, yeah, it's not inaccurate.
No, interesting time over there.
So, gentlemen, does Are we talking about the next manager of the great Newcastle United?
Blake, you stole it. I think that is a good shout from you because I was thinking the same thing. Like, how a little bit could
I got another one for you.
Go ahead.
Other one because he loves living in the city. It's Crystal Palace.
I don't see him Palace in the Premier League. No, I don't see that.
Interesting.
Kind of want him back with Harry Kane and Bayern. Wouldn't that be fun? Put him in some Lederhosen during Oktoberfest.
Only if he is on the top of a building screaming match night in Lederhosen.
Love it.
We got to find that commercial again. That's right. The best.
Well, what do you know? Speaking of Germany, on Saturday, the former Borussia Dortmund and now Loney from Manchester United outcast Jadon Sancho made his second rebirth in German football as an assist from the substitute helped his Borussia Dortmund see out a 3-0 win over bottom of the table SV Darmstadt.
Can you talk about how like the coach or whatever the people at Dortmund were like, this is a BS thing for Man United. He was never a disciplinary problem. And then literally there's like how many articles from like suspended at Borussia that didn't show up to practice got like, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Maybe now he's not right there this week.
It's interesting, right? There's a lot of aspects and a lot of things to peel off the onion here with this entire thing, But as much as I follow Dortmund over the years, and they're my German club, they don't have the same level of scrutiny or eyes on them that a Man United have, right? Arizona Diamondbacks don't have the same amount of scrutiny as the New York Yankees. You just don't have that, right? And that's part of it. So I think that plays into it there. New manager coming in that season, but you remember Ten Hag was there for him when he had his sabbatical. He had to go away for a bit for mental things, and he was, then Ten Hag, let him do that. Was there for him, then brought him back last season. Then you get into this. There's a lot of just things that you can pull off. Nonetheless, he came on with captain of Dortmund, Marco Royce, who was actually who he assisted in this. So the subs made a big appearance. But in terms of the German league and what they have to do, they're currently in fifth outside of a Champions League spot. Kane scored again for Bayern, but they're still in second. Leverkusen with like a 95th game-ending goal was enough to keep them 4 points above Bayern. Stuttgart up there in third, and Leipzig in fourth. Another league that is fun to watch, and on ESPN Plus, if you want to watch that league. And lastly, well, wouldn't you know, on Sunday behind a Vicinius Jr. first half hat trick, Real Madrid beat bitter rivals Barcelona 4-1 in the Spanish Super Cup final to see Los Blancos get their first silverware of the season and Jude Bellingham's first trophy with his new club, Real Madrid.
It's so great when Barcelona loses, especially in a final.
It is. It is. But if Mbappe goes for free in the summer, goes to Madrid, how scary is that team with Jude Bellingham, a Vicinius, Mbappe, Rodrigo? Oh my God, that's a quick, fast front three. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Just a lot of egos to manage.
Champions League, here they come.
And Carlo Ancelotti extended there at Real Madrid, I think to 2028, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2029. But anyways, that puts him out of the the Brazil national team talk, which is where there was a lot of reports coming out that after the end of his contract deal with them, he would coach Brazil into the next World Cup. That is not going to happen now. Brazil have named a head coach. Forgive me, I cannot remember his name right now. But Ancelotti staying in Madrid and extended his deal to later on in the 2020s. So that is your La Liga's roundup.
Somehow we're pulling this thing in only a few minutes late. All right, this is a good pod. This is a good one, Ron. Again, you kicked butt, dude. That was a great segment. All right, beer mentions for the pod. I had the Southern Tier's Old Man Winter. They're seasonal this year.
I had Foxtail Double Coffee Stout, which is fantastic, and I thought about getting myself another one. I might do so here after the pod.
I had the Combs Baltic Porter. Oh, so good. As it warmed up, it got way better.
Love me a
inspired
Baltic
me.
Porter.
I was just say I haven't had a Baltic Porter in a while this winter, so I'm going to go snag me one.
I think the last time I had a Baltic Porter, I was in Manchester at a brewery in there. Interesting enough.
Ferris, do you have a Zlatan quote for us?
I do. And as we kind of alluded to the Saudi League, he was quoted as saying in the past few months, in terms of the Saudi League, scoring 10 goals in the Saudi Pro League is like scoring 1 goal in League One. In Spain, it's like a corner kick.
I love that, man. That makes me very happy.
Is he still in an advisory role for AC Milan?
Yes, he teaches black belt classes to all the players.
How to kick people in the head.
Hairstyling, mustache trimming. Yeah, no, he's in a very strong advisory role. God bless that man.
Just pictured him like a Harry Potter wizard teacher in the room doing like pomade, or is that Olivier Giroud running that class? I'm not sure with the hair. I don't know.
I think he just broke something in Serie A too. He's 10+ goals in multiple seasons at age. I mean,
that's why the Arsenal fans like, hey, we need a striker. Can we get him for 6 months on loan?
Yeah. God, that'd be hilarious.
No kidding.
I mean, I wouldn't say no right now. Well, gentlemen, it's winter, so my daughter got to experience her first snow. Got to and it was a good 12 inches powdery, for real. She couldn't have asked, being born in Florida and then in Tennessee the last couple of years where it was very mild, to have had a better classic first snow. It was awesome. So this is in honor of her because she thought this was funny. Why was the snowman rummaging through a bag of carrots?
Who knows?
No, he's picking his nose.
I was close.
Nice.
There you go. And just for a little bonus, what are the trees going to say after this long winter? What a relief.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're starting this new year off with classic dad jokes. We're getting back to simplicity.
Love it.
I saw you guys as soon as I started talking about my daughter's first snow, thinking, "Oh, he's got a thing. He's going to do a story." And no, just keeping it simple right now. Just simple dad joke strikes. Hiya, the dad jokes. There you go.
Love it.
Gotta keep it. Get on a swivel. Keep it on a swivel. All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on the socials. And the Untapped. Now we're getting tons of beers from Ron's travels and Connecticut's and Florida. So it's our Untapped we get some fun badges we wouldn't get if we didn't share an Untapped like that.
Yeah, right.
That's a great place to follow us. Also, if you like us, leave a review. Let us know you did. We'll get something fun out your way. And yeah, there you go. Boom, gents. That was a really fun one. Cheers. Love the beer. Cherish the game. The beautiful game.